Hi, everybody. So, our featured philosopher this week is Aristotle. Many of you may know Aristotle from studying virtue ethics. He's very well known for his writing in ethics on ethical topics, but you will see him throughout the course, throughout our textbook, in a variety of different subjects. He always has something fruitful to offer. So I thought that we would talk about how Aristotle can apply to our own lives and what some of his key ideas are. He's one of the most influential ancient philosophers, and he really offers so much on how to live a good life and a meaningful life. And often we turn to Aristotle when we're trying to think about what the meaning and purpose is of our own lives. So he's very into the idea of the pursuit of happiness. He believed that the ultimate goal of life is happiness, or this idea of flourishing. So it's not about fleeting pleasures where you're going to just be happy in the moment, right? You're having maybe an ice cream or some other sweet that you like, or you're watching a good show, or pursuing a hobby that you really enjoy. But happiness is instead about living a life of virtue, purpose, and reason. So he really wants us to focus on this idea that virtue leads us toward happiness. If we're not acting virtuous, then probably we're not feeling happy. And you may have seen that play out in your own life. So let's talk a little bit about virtue, which is arete, A-R-E-T-E, in Aristotle's speak in Greek. So virtue, according to Aristotle, is really the key to achieving this happiness. And he defined it as a mean between excess and deficiency, this golden mean. And a lot of you have talked about this already in some of your discussion posts, this idea of balance and harmony. So let's take an example of courage as a virtue. Recklessness would be excess, and cowardness would be deficiency, and he calls these vices. So what we're trying to do with these virtues is kind of find this golden mean, this balancing between those two things when we're thinking about courage as our example. Moving on, then, he also emphasizes that virtues are developed through habit and practice. We become virtuous by consistently acting in virtuous ways, and we can hone our skills in that way. So if you think about it, if you're practicing, let's say, patience, right? That just doesn't come all at one time. We have to practice it consistently over and over in our lives. And I found one of the greatest teachers of patience has actually been my children. And for those of you that have children, you may know what I'm talking about. Another thing that we can take from Aristotle is that rationality is a defining human trait. What sets humans apart, according to Aristotle, now remember he lived quite a long time ago, is this ability to reason. So living a good life then, in his mind, would always involve exercising this rationality to make wise decisions, deliberate on different issues, whether they be ethical or other things that come into our lives, and to seek knowledge. So this idea of reason and rationality, and good thinking rather than poor thinking, he thinks is really going to lead to a good life. He also talked about, and the ancient Greeks really were also very into the role of friendship. He believed that friendships, especially those based in mutual respect, virtue, reciprocity, they will lead you towards a fulfilling life. And that true friendship involved caring for another person for their own sake rather than for personal gain. So that makes sense to us, right? We want to care for somebody else in an unconditional way, regardless of, what they may give back to us, and that'll make us happier. So we also don't want to focus on what we might gain from another person. We just want to try to be the kindest people that we can be, and compassionate and empathetic, and that will lead us towards true happiness. And going back to this idea of the golden mean or balance, this includes finding a middle ground. in emotions and actions and desires, right? So not only are we talking about the golden mean between virtues and vices, but we're talking about the golden mean or balance in our emotions, the actions that we do, and our desires. So he thinks this idea of living moderately leads to stability and harmony in our lives. So you can think about how you might want to work that into your life, maybe journal about it a little bit. And that might lead you to lead a more balanced life. Students often ask me about time management. And this is really finding that harmony, finding that balance between work and school and your home life. And I even use a spreadsheet to do that so that I make sure that I'm getting all of those components in there. I really want to balance out the things in my life that I find stimulate my mind, stimulate my soul and spirit, and stimulate my body physically, like activities that are physical, walking, yoga, swimming, all of those things that you might like to do at the gym. That kind of balance between mind, body, and spirit can really lead us towards a fulfilling and happy life also. So there's also, Aristotle has this idea of phronesis, which is this practical wisdom. So practical wisdom involves knowing how to act rightly in different situations. So it's about making good judgments and decisions based on experience and reflection. And this can help you to navigate the complexity of your life. Aristotle also big into politics, like Plato. He very much enjoyed the role of community. So he taught that humans are political animals by nature, meaning that we thrive in community and society. And we're seeing right now a lot of loneliness and isolation, particularly since COVID. This is not unusual to happen, and Aristotle touches on this, right? He says that a meaningful life is one that contributes to the well-being of the community, as individuals are shaped by their environment and their relationships. So he really emphasizes how important community is. So you might want to examine your own community, the communities you belong to, and whether or not they're fulfilling to you, and maybe you need to make some changes. Aristotle was all about education and lifelong learning. He valued it highly. He really believed the pursuit of knowledge and intellectual growth was centered to a well-lived life. He encouraged continuous learning, and he wanted us to continually refine our understanding and improve ourselves, right? This notion of becoming excellent, becoming more excellent. So he really wanted us to, just to sort of recap, participate in intellectual activities, reflection that leads to deeper truths. He wants us to find balance. He wants us to live virtuous lives. He wants to live thoughtfully. He wants us to live in harmony with others. And he wants us to constantly be growing in wisdom and self-awareness. And so that's kind of a little bit about what Aristotle is all about. And you'll be able to see that as you read through the material in the class, and hopefully apply this in your own lives. And it'll give you some food for thought. All right, I will see you next time.